Despite my admitted cowardice, I've always enjoyed Resident Evil games. The same way I couldn't look away from the screen in slasher flicks, I couldn't put the controller down during the scariest moments in spooky games. Lately, however, Resident Evil titles have left me feeling like they exist somewhere between horror and action, favoring one or the other, but almost always feeling unbalanced as a result. Action games are among my favorites, so I've gravitated towards entries in the series that focus on that element a bit more than most. At least I did before Requiem. The latest entry in the now 30-year-old series draws a clear line between classic survival horror and action with its dual protagonists, newcomer Grace Ashcroft and series mainstay Leon Kennedy. Everything about playing as either character is completely different. While playing as Grace, I had to hide and wait for openings to get through rooms, hoping I wouldn't be seen or heard by zombies. Leon, on the other hand, can charge into a room and kill everything in sight, hacking and slashing his way through hordes of zombies with relative ease. The way Capcom interwove these disparate gameplay styles throughout the narrative is masterful. Every time I felt things were reaching peak intensity, a moment with Leon would arrive as almost a palate cleanser. I could feel my anxiety dissipate every time I cut a zombie down with my hatchet. On the other hand, the opposite was true with Grace. As Grace, I was always nearly out of bullets, low on healing items, or both, and I wouldn't have it any other way. That sense that I might not survive an encounter every time I walked into a room was so thrilling that I was constantly on the edge of my seat. Seeing a giant monster charging down a hallway at me scared the living daylights out of me, and outsmarting or surviving them felt like such a major accomplishment. It's a testament to Capcom's mastery of the survival horror genre. Playing Grace's side of the story, which takes up the majority of Requiem, feels like a natural continuation of the series' return to horror after going all in on action with RE6. Grace, despite being smart and resourceful, more often than not is helpless. Even after unlocking the ability to craft bullets using zombie blood, you never gain enough to be able to confidently make your way through the obstacles in your path. Instead, I found myself becoming more confident in how to evade my enemies and choose my battles. Angela San Albano turns in an incredible performance, believably selling Grace's anxiety and fear as she's pulled into the darkness. The way her voice warbles with fear in cutscenes or her breath gets shallow as she's hiding from a giant monster really drives home how terrifying it is, to say nothing of the environments. The care center, where Requiem begins in earnest, is, as is typical of Resident Evil, a horrifying place. It has all the hallmarks of a horror show. Dirt, grime, and blood everywhere, dilapidated equipment, monstrous entities roaming the halls, loads of puzzles, and of course, the power's out. By default, Grace's side of the story plays out in first person, which for me really enhanced the sense of dread. Pulling the camera out to the third person just didn't feel right for these parts, plus it was nice to see everything up close. I played a full playthrough of Requiem on Switch 2, and while it doesn't reach PS5 levels of visual fidelity, and the seams definitely show in places, I often forgot I was playing on a handheld. There are some obvious visual cutbacks made to achieve 60 FPS on the Switch 2, like reduced texture quality, no ray tracing, and of course hair is a noticeable downgrade. But even when playing on a 65-inch OLED TV, I never felt like I was playing a dramatically inferior version of the game. Character models look incredible, especially in cutscenes, but the entire game is gorgeous throughout. Unlike my demo from earlier this year, Requiem doesn't maintain a locked 60 frames per second, with some minor dips happening in certain places around the care center, particularly when rotating the camera quickly in first-person mode. These dips only lasted as long as it took me to turn around, and they were only noticeable in docked mode as VRR smoothed them out in handheld mode. Considering Resident Evil Village didn't run very well on PS4, seeing a current-gen Resident Evil title running at 60 FPS more often than not is impressive. Requiem looks incredible regardless of what platform you choose to play it on, even when the action is at a feverish pace. And speaking of action, let's talk about Leon's segments, which feel like more of the fantastic RE4 remake. They're typically shorter than Grace's, but much of that is owed to the fact that you don't really need to sneak around as Leon. Unlike Grace, Leon knew exactly what he signed up for and armed himself accordingly. Even without a gun, Leon is a force to be reckoned with, able to knock enemies over, slash them with his unbreakable hatchet, and even stomp through zombie heads. Playing as Leon is a welcome bit of catharsis between the more intense survival horror segments. Every time I switched from Grace to Leon, it was like fulfilling a grudge. Every shotgun blast or roundhouse kick was payback for the suffering I had previously endured. With Leon, there are always enough bullets, and if you use them all, you're still just as deadly. And from a gameplay perspective, it prevents the feeling of either playstyle overstaying its welcome. At first, I thought I wouldn't like the back and forth between them, but each time a switchover would happen, it felt like the right moment to change up gameplay styles. As I neared the end of my 10-hour first run through Resident Evil Requiem, I was surprised to find that I ended up enjoying Grace's survival horror segments more than Leon's. While effortlessly taking down zombies is fun and a welcome break between those tense gameplay moments, the payoff of surviving against incredible odds and learning the truth behind Grace's abduction was so compelling to me that I couldn't put the controller down. For the entirety of this review period, I've been playing Requiem non-stop. Even after recording and editing this review, I'm wandering back in, this time with some cheats unlocked to discover what I had left unfound the first time around. Resident Evil Requiem is a delight. It's a successful combination of the two styles that have come to define the franchise, blending horror with action to create something that feels better than anything that came before. I can't remember the last time any piece of media made me feel such dread or paid off in such a satisfying way. That's why I'm giving Resident Evil Requiem a 9 out of 10. It's been a long time since I've been this excited about a Resident Evil game. And even after 30 years, it's clear Capcom still knows how to send chills down players' spine.